a seasoned veteran, after experiencing a brutal war, decided to return to his homeland. He walked from Laos, traversing countless miles to get back to Moscow. On the way, when passing through a small town, he inadvertently violated the unwritten local law. He didn't answer the police officer when spoken to. Two low-ranking police officers in uniform stopped him and demanded to see his papers. While one of them was searching his luggage, he seemed to see something hidden in the leather jacket. The man quickly pulled open his jacket to reveal a dagger. Both policemen panicked. "What's this?" The man replied, calmly, "A knife. I have a permit to carry a knife." Despite the man's insistence that he had a permit, the two police officers demanded he hand over the knife. Upon inspecting it, they realized it was a kukri knife from a Nepalese army. Without further explanation, they handcuffed him. Looking around to make sure no one was watching, one of them swung his baton at the man. Unexpectedly, the man, with his quick reflexes, easily dodged the blow. The chubby officer charged, attempted to strike him, but the man leaned to the right and pushed the other officer, causing him to fall. Realizing they were no match for him, the two officers drew their guns and forced the man into the car. Not wanting to cause trouble, he obediently turned and got in. But just then, the chubby officer swung his baton and struck him hard in the back. The man didn't cry out, only glared at him with a deadly look in his eyes. These two police officers had no idea they would pay dearly for their actions. After being taken to the station, they confiscated all his belongings and re-handcuffed him. Calling a police station is more like calling a den of thieves. They deliberately disrupt the peace and security of the area and then collect protection money from the people, which they then split with their accomplices. Just then, a captain entered the cell and asked the man why he hadn't answered his questions. The man didn't respond, so the captain struck him with a baton. The man only let out a muffled groan. Turns out, this guy was a tough nut to crack, which only stoked the captain's bestial instincts. He swung the baton at the man's face, snarling, "You only look at me when you're given permission. Who the hell are you?" The man looked at him with contempt. He'd never seen anyone more arrogant than himself. A rain of baton blows fell on the man. Not yet satisfied, the captain pulled out a stun baton. Unable to take it anymore, the man lunged at the captain and swept his legs out from under him, knocking the officer to the ground. Just as the captain was about to lose it, other officers ran in to stop him. Little did he know that his life was in danger. They were summoned to the deputy director's office. Seeing the sharp kukri knife, the ignorant leader asked him why he was carrying this type of knife into their town. The man only said one word softly, "Enemies." The leader found it amusing. Just then, the pot-bellied director walked into the office. In the entire police station, only this director had a bit of sense. He ordered the man's handcuffs to be removed and examined his identification. Turns out, the man's name was Shamanov, a major in the special forces. Hearing this name, the cowardly police officers nearly wet themselves, regretting their previous actions. The director immediately ordered his subordinates to return all of Shamanov's belongings. Just when they thought everything was settled, the director picked up Shamanov's MP3 player and started listening to music. This foolish action almost led to destruction of the entire police station. Shamanov walked out of the office and bumped into a beautiful girl. He felt like he had met her somewhere before. Not long after leaving the gate, Shamanov suddenly remembered that his MP3 player had been left behind in the director's office. This treasure could not be lost. Whenever he was feeling down, he relied on it to improve his mood. He immediately returned to the office and witnessed the director molesting the girl he'd seen earlier. Seeing the girl cowering in the corner with a helpless expression, Shamanov stood frozen. He didn't want to interfere in other people's business, but he still picked up the MP3 player and unwound the headphone cord, wrapping it tightly around it. The director was approaching, and he wedged the MP3 player between his index and middle fingers, slowly turning around. Just how formidable were the Russian Maroon Berets paratroopers? This strike had to have at least several dozen pounds of force. The police chief, weighing over 200 kilos, now lay helplessly on the floor. Shamanov delivered another blow to his forehead, and the police chief collapsed to the ground. Shamanov knew what he had to do next. He picked up an ashtray, unwound the telephone cord, making sure to grab his lighter, and pulled the dazed girl out of the office. He walked away calmly as if nothing had happened. A police officer was about to enter the room to check on things. Shamanov quickly pulled the ashtray out of his pocket. As soon as he opened the door, the ashtray smashed straight into his head. Seeing Shamanov holding the telephone cord, the police officers in the station finally woke up. They saw Shamanov about to leave and drew their guns to stop him, but they were stunned by the telephone cord being thrown at them. The remaining police officers were quickly taken down by Shamanov. The beautiful girl's eyes widened in amazement. How could these run-of-the-mill police officers be a match for a Special Forces soldier? Before leaving, Shamanov didn't forget to disassemble all the weapons in the police station, then grabbed the girl's hand to leave. But they didn't know where the back door was and accidentally wandered into the police station's break room. The police officers who were here were the same ones who had picked a fight with Shamanov earlier. He pushed the girl outside, determined to teach these bastards a lesson. This was a real-life demonstration of a dimension reduction attack. These rookie police officers couldn't even last one round. Another young police officer saw the chaotic scene and was about to rush and stop it. But Shamanov locked his arm, twisted it 360 degrees, and then flipped him 180 degrees, sending him crashing to the ground. Shamanov continued to pull the girl along. At the bottom of the stairs, they ran into the deputy director. Before he could understand what was happening, Shamanov landed a monkey steals a peach followed by a punch straight to his right temple. He just charged straight through. No one could withstand 3 of Shamanov's moves. He didn't want to take these guys' lives. Otherwise, with the tactics he'd used on the battlefield, no police officer would have survived. Once outside, Shamanov even politely lit a cigarette for a police officer and gave him the police chief's lighter. The corners of the girl's eyes still held tears. She was extremely tense on the way. She knew she had caused a catastrophe. If she was caught, those rotten police officers would definitely torture her to death. She told Shamanov to leave the town quickly and not worry about her anymore. At the same time, the captain had regained consciousness. The first thing he did was call his colleagues to issue a warrant for Shamanov's arrest. He had never suffered such a great humiliation. He had to regain his lost honor. The girl didn't want to implicate Shamanov any further. Seeing a police officer rushing toward them, she pushed him to the ground. Seeing the girl still refusing to leave, with police cars chasing them from behind, Shamanov had no choice but to drive away. The police cars were stuck close behind. They were determined to take down Shamanov, firing wildly. Shamanov swayed to avoid the bullets and, timing it perfectly, made a spectacular turn onto a narrow road. The police continued their relentless pursuit, but their shooting skills were so poor that they kept missing their target. Shamanov drove the motorcycle off a slope and into the air. He jumped off the motorcycle and landed near a bulldozer. The captain emptied his gun and then pulled out his pistol. In the end, he emptied his pistol too, but still didn't hit anything. With shooting skills like that, it was a wonder how he even became a police officer. Just as he was about to get back in the car to retreat, the bulldozer came crashing down, crushing the front of his car. Shamanov controlled the bulldozer, using the bucket to smash straight into the car. The captain ordered the driver to reverse immediately. The truck suddenly came crashing in from behind. The entire police station had been thrown into complete chaos by a stranger's visit. After surveying the scene, the police chief couldn't help but feel fear. Just what kind of person had he angered? Just then, a subordinate reported that this man was a Special Forces soldier from the Maroon Berets. He had participated in a number of top-secret missions, been awarded the Order of Service to the Homeland twice, and received several other medals for bravery in combat. Meanwhile, Shamanov was speeding along on top of a mountain. He knew that he had angered these insects, and they would never let him go. If they wanted to play it that way, then he would play to the end. The stupid police chief had no idea that his bad decision had just signed a death warrant for the entire police station. Let's see how this Maroon Beret Spetsnaz soldier is going to fight off an entire police station chasing after him, without even firing a single bullet. Now, he's been forced into an abandoned area in the woods. First thing he does is find a box of matches and some electrical wire, throw away some rusty nails, and grab a few wooden planks. Back with the cops. They're still complaining about having to camp out in the rain to hunt down a criminal, but they have no idea that Shamanov is building a secret weapon. He wraps the nails around the end of the wooden planks with the electrical wire, and then uses the matches to burn the end of the wire to hold it all together. The Trident of the Sea God was thus created quickly. He placed them in different locations. Then he found a small wooden house, searching for anything that could be used. A circular metal plate, and a secret passage. Once finished, he took out his MP3 player and calmly waited for the enemy to take the bait. Not long ago, Special Forces soldier Shamanov, in defending a beautiful girl, had caused chaos in the entire police station, even killing 2 police officers who were chasing him. To cover their tracks, the police set up camp near the forest and prepared to deploy canine units and a helicopter. However, The police chief didn't dare to ask for help from the special forces, fearing that his own evil deeds would be exposed. But little did they know that all their actions were being monitored by Shamanov. He had mapped out their attack route and deployed his combat plan. That evening, two arrogant police officers drank some brandy and decided to act alone. They planned to take advantage of the darkness to launch a surprise attack, hoping to capture Shamanov quickly and make a big contribution. Passing through a forest, they saw a light in the distance. They couldn't believe it was so easy to find their target. They wisely turned off their flashlights and carefully approached from behind. "What's the situation inside?" "Hey, where are you?" The reckless police officer was about to rush in when he was struck in the forehead by a wooden plank. The accomplice rushed to check on him, but Shamanov kicked his weapon away. The other guy tried to resist, but was knocked to the ground by a burning stick. Shamanov didn't kill them. Instead, he gathered firewood and forced them to handcuff each other next to the fire. The two guys' heads were still ringing, and they didn't understand what had just happened. Shamanov told them to send a message to the major. "Tell your major not to look for me anymore." "Why?" "It's not necessary." Early the next morning, the police chief discovered that the guards had disappeared. He didn't have time to worry too much, and immediately ordered everyone to move out. Seeing the wooden house, the whole group rushed forward. Opening the door, they discovered that it was all their own men, with bruised faces, sitting inside. The bald guy even tried to salvage the situation, saying he almost caught Shamanov, but just got caught in a trap. Then he whispered to the police chief, "Tell the lieutenant colonel not to look for him anymore. It's not necessary." The police chief turned purple with anger and slapped him hard across the face. To quickly find Shamanov, the police chief ordered everyone to form a line and expand the search area. Shamanov nimbly weaved through the forest, while the police struggled step by step. Suddenly, two police officers stepped on animal traps one after another. Shamanov immediately picked up the trident he had prepared and threw it accurately at the targets, then quickly changed position. Hearing the commotion, the police officers fearfully raised their guns and fired wildly, almost shooting their own men. Before they knew it, 3 people had fallen. "He's dealing with us like he's dealing with ants." The police had realized how terrifying Shamanov was. It seemed like his presence was everywhere in the forest. Just as he finished speaking, a trident came flying from somewhere and struck one of them. Everyone chased after him. "Dennis and I will stay here. Are you just going to stand there waiting for special instructions from Shamanov? Move!" Seeing the target, the police chief led the team to chase after him. Shamanov was an expert in guerrilla warfare. The dense forest was like his own backyard. Very quickly, he disappeared from their sight. After circling around, Shamanov returned and took down the police officers who were guarding the wounded one by one. His actions were quick and decisive. Hearing the commotion, their teammates ran over to check, only to have Shamanov dismantle their guns and hold a knife to their throats, ordering them to take the wounded back towards the vehicles and forbidding them from returning. Clearly, Shamanov didn't want to kill them. On the other side, the police chief led the team to the single log bridge. The deputy police chief criticized the police chief for not inviting the special forces and not valuing everyone's lives. This statement only made the police chief even more annoyed. He immediately told the deputy police chief to scout ahead. The bridge was made of 2 logs, making it very precarious to walk across. One wrong step, and you could fall into the river. Shamanov had been waiting there for a long time. The continuous volleys of gunfire still didn't hit Shamanov, so the group went back to playing hide and seek in the forest. The deputy police chief, slow on his feet, was eliminated first. This time the police chief was smarter. "If I can't find you, I'll just sit here and wait for you to come to me." Shamanov ran into the forest, and the police chief suddenly appeared in front of him. It seemed he had underestimated this guy. Shamanov's trident was ready, and just as he launched it, the police chief's gun fired, hitting Shamanov himself. The police chief struggled to endure the pain and fled the scene. He was also sweating bullets, nearly going to heaven to reunite with his ancestors. Seeing the danger above him, he carefully stepped over the wooden planks. But he didn't expect Shamanov to not have run far, and to be right behind him. This was a battle between gun and knife, between police officers and special forces. His right hand supported the gun, and his left hand removed the magazine, then pulled back the bolt to eject the bullet. Just as the bullet ejected, Shamanov snatched it and gave the police chief a resounding slap. In Russia, never anger a maroon beret's paratrooper. The police chief's ear was bleeding. "Don't you understand yet? Had enough playing? Take the wounded and leave. Forget about me. Pretend I never existed, got it? I'm not kidding. If you don't do that, more people will die. The police chief, used to being arrogant, wasn't afraid even with a cookery knife to his throat. Seeing that the police chief wouldn't listen, Shamanov punched him into unconsciousness and left alone. The police chief returned breathlessly down the mountain, where someone was waiting for him. Already annoyed, seeing some guy in sunglasses trying to act cool in front of him, he stormed off in frustration. It turned out that this person was Lieutenant Colonel Gavrilov of the Defense Intelligence Agency, Shamanov's instructor. No one understood Shamanov better than he did. Only when something extremely unusual happened would Shamanov lose control like that. He advised the police chief to stop and forget about Shamanov. This was the opportunity Shamanov was giving them, so they could survive. If Shamanov wanted to kill, no one would leave this forest alive. The police chief ignored him and drove Lieutenant Colonel Gavrilov away. Just then, he received word that the helicopter would arrive in 15 minutes. This made him even more confident, and he ordered everyone to surround the area, in case Shamanov might appear at any time. He would personally enter the forest to eliminate Shamanov. Hearing the sound of the helicopter, Shamanov began to hide. The enemy had the advantage in the air. He could only constantly run and dodge the incoming bullets. Ahead was a cliff. Without thinking, Shamanov jumped off. Got him. Lower the altitude, don't worry. He was hit by bullets. No one could survive that. The police chief was still uneasy and ordered the helicopter to survey the water's surface for several minutes until it was nearly out of fuel before turning back. Shamanov hadn't wanted to kill, but he didn't expect these people to be so ruthless towards him. You could only say that they had successfully angered a beast. After floating for an unknown amount of time, an old man discovered Shamanov on the shore. The old man's kindness saved his life, and he took him back to his house. And the old man's granddaughter was the girl Shamanov had rescued from the police station. Seeing Shamanov dying, the girl felt extremely guilty. It was all because of her that Shamanov was so seriously injured. The old man removed the bullet from Shamanov's body, and the girl mustered all her courage to stitch up his wound. That night, Shamanov woke up. Not wanting to implicate the two of them, he planned to leave that very night. This time, the girl decided to go with him because she had no way back. If the police chief found her, she would surely die. However, Shamanov's health was very weak. To ensure their safety, the two decided to rest for one night in a nearby thatched hut. Early the next morning, some uninvited guests arrived at the old man's house. They were armed with weapons and had fierce expressions on their faces. The old man didn't welcome them, but was shot by one of them. These guys were the escaped convicts that the police were looking for. Shamanov heard the gunshot. An unavoidable battle was about to begin. Before the robber could even understand what was happening, he was shot down. In any case, it wasn't unfair to die at the hands of a maroon berets paratrooper. But why did they give Shamanov, a soldier king, the opportunity to launch a massacre? Here's the story. 5 fierce escaped convicts passed through the small town and broke into the old man's house. They cold-bloodedly killed the old man. The gunshot alarmed Shamanov, who was recuperating in the stable. He gave his dagger to the girl and went out alone to assess the situation. First, he pretended to be a weakling and infiltrated the group of robbers. But the girl hiding in the attic was discovered by a blonde guy. He winked at the girl, then went outside and locked the door, deceiving the ringleader. Then he winked at Shamanov. It turned out that these people were criminals wanted by the police, and they planned to escape by water, but unfortunately, the boat engine was broken. Shamanov took the initiative to offer help with the repairs. The ringleader looked at Shamanov's hands and thought he seemed like a professional. So he agreed, telling the blonde guy and another guy to watch him. But in order to disassemble the engine, tools were needed. Shamanov wanted to use this opportunity to leave and rescue the girl from the stable, but the blonde guy stopped him. He said he could help him find the tools. Shamanov had no choice but to let the blonde guy go to the stable. The blonde guy called the girl down from the attic. After talking for a while, he revealed his true nature, but the girl's fierce resistance made him lose interest. Angrily, he hung her up in a moment of panic. The girl struck him in a sensitive area and took the opportunity to run to another room. That's when she remembered the dagger that Shamanov had given her. The blonde guy also entered, carrying a trident. The girl timed it perfectly, stabbed him in the leg, and then unleashed a series of 7-star continuous slashes. A girl who was originally gentle, weak-handed, and soft-footed was forced step by step onto the path of murder. At this time, Shamanov, after dealing with the guard, immediately ran to the stable. He saw the girl covered in blood. Just then, another robber entered. Hearing the noise, Shamanov turned around. The two almost simultaneously grabbed the barrel of the gun, then each kicked the other. Although the other guy was bigger, in terms of fighting skills, he was just a novice. The robber grabbed Shamanov, trying to wrestle him to the ground, but Shamanov kicked him away. Just as he picked up the gun, Shamanov grabbed a nearby sickle and stabbed him straight in the heart. Facing these inhumane villains, Shamanov didn't hold back and directly activated slaughter mode. He also didn't hesitate with the robber holding a hostage. The police and special forces rushed to the scene and saw the bodies of the 5 robbers. They didn't need to spend any effort arresting them. Seeing the cookery knife, the police chief knew that Shamanov was still alive. He angrily grabbed the girl, forcing her to tell him where Shamanov was. Little did he know that Shamanov was nearby, watching everything. Whatever he was doing to the girl, he would pay for it many times over later. To force Shamanov to appear, the police chief forced the girl into a car. Just then, Shamanov suddenly appeared. The police chief was about to fire when the girl pushed him away. Turning back, Shamanov had disappeared. Hearing the gunshot, the Special Forces commander arrived just in time and berated the police chief, helping the girl escape from being tortured. This time, the Special Forces didn't capture the 5 escaped convicts alive, but instead encountered an even more dangerous person. The superiors ordered the Special Forces to capture this terrorist alive. Shamanov ran straight to an abandoned building. The commander led the Special Forces to chase after him. Shamanov didn't want to fight anymore, raised his hands against the wall, and made a gesture of surrender. But the opponent was still aggressive, even planning to use a stun gun to capture him alive. Hearing the sound of the electric current, he knew he had to act. He was the toughest man in a warrior nation. An entire Special Forces regiment couldn't do anything to him. I surrender. Kneel down. No Special Forces officer could withstand 3 of his moves. Just then, the Special Forces team leader ran up. At such close range, with a pistol pointed at him, no matter how fast he was, he couldn't be faster than a bullet. So he threw the AK off his body into the water, preparing to surrender. Unexpectedly, the commander put away his weapon, saying that the superior's order was to capture him alive. Perhaps the commander had overestimated himself. Just as he made his move, someone with top-tier combat skills within the Special Forces team like him was immediately taken down, without even having a chance to resist. Shamanov easily neutralized his hook punches, and then delivered a black tiger blow to the commander's chest. Stunned, another punch, and the commander tried to use a move to subdue Shamanov, but he countered and sent him crashing face-first to the ground. At this point, the commander drew his pistol, only to find that Shamanov had already taken his grenade. Shamanov didn't want to kill innocent people, so he saved the commander from falling into the water. He then escaped through the water pipe, but there was no way the police chief would let Shamanov go. This was his territory, so he knew every nook and cranny. This water pipe only had one exit. The police chief led his subordinates to tightly surround the exit. Before long, Shamanov appeared, but these guys were terrible shots. With so many of them, no one managed to hit him. Shamanov ran at full speed and jumped into a small wooden house. The two sides engaged in fierce combat, but there was a strange phenomenon. Black smoke poured out of gun barrels, but the wooden planks of the house remained intact, without any damage. Was this house made of granite? Seeing that they couldn't take down Shamanov, the police chief shouldered a shotgun and fired straight into the house. Fire burst out fiercely. Seeing the wooden house burning, the police chief confidently said, "It's over. Find his body before nightfall." Just then, the general came to visit the Special Forces commander, who was in the hospital. A woman burst in. It was the girl Shamanov had been protecting. Through her account, the general gradually understood the whole story. The police chief returned to his office and saw Lieutenant Colonel Gavrilov already waiting there. He's waiting for Shamanov to leave together, because he has a feeling that only by staying with the police chief could he wait for Shamanov. Your boy is gone. Only his music player is left. Where's the body? We'll find the body. Lieutenant Colonel Gavrilov advised the police chief to drink some more brandy. Preferably drink it all, so that when Shamanov came back to get his MP3 player, he wouldn't feel scared. On the other side, the police discovered a secret tunnel. As soon as they stepped down, a gun was pointed in their faces. Handed over, Shamanov, dressed in a police uniform, calmly walked to the car and took the driver's phone. As the driver got out of the car, he punched him with a backhand and stole the police car, speeding away. 2 police officers were about to get in the car and chase him, but Shamanov punched him unconscious. The guard was eating noodles and watching the World Cup. planning to place a few more bets when the door was suddenly smashed open. The target was very clear. Shamanov went straight to the police chief. At this moment, the outside had been surrounded by special forces. Lieutenant Colonel Gavrilov entered the house and told Shamanov that an entire army was waiting for him outside. All that was missing was a tank. He wanted to persuade him to surrender and return to Moscow with him. But there was no way Shamanov would do that. He couldn't stand the feeling of someone choking him while asking him kindly how he was doing. How do you like it? That's the situation of every citizen in this town. We're not ordinary people. We don't live in a stronghold. We have to take responsibility for our own lives and for this world. Otherwise, my comrades would have sacrificed themselves in vain, dying because of this scum. Surprisingly, Shamanov released the police chief and sat quietly in the house, preparing to fight the special forces. At that moment, the general arrived at the scene and ordered everyone to retreat. Just as they were preparing to arrest the police chief, his subordinate stepped forward and suddenly took the girl hostage. The police chief still stubbornly insisted he was best, boasting about what he had done for this town. Just then, Shamanov emerged from the smoke. So, you're finally coming out? This guy only arrived here 3 days ago. Look at the mess he's made. What, is someone not happy? Now I'll find a little fun for you. Major, don't be hasty. Against everyone's expectations, Lieutenant Colonel Gavrilov released the girl. The small town returned to peace. Receiving orders from Moscow, Shamanov and Lieutenant Colonel Gavrilov returned to Moscow together. The girl continued to watch the car carrying Shamanov disappear into the distance. The movie ended there. The value of a film lies in its reputation, while the value of a film review lies in its feelings. That's the end of today's story. Thank you for watching. What did you think of this movie? Leave a comment below.